AG Sports. Do you smell what we're cooking? You probably don't. I don't. Anyways, guys, I want to get started today with just an announcement. Today's going to really be focused on first halves. So if that's not you, if you don't play first halves, if you're like, I'm a real degenerate and I only like to play full games or else it's not fun for me, probably not going to have a lot of fun right now. If that's cool with you and you don't mind playing halves, by all means, let's get into it. So, the Saints, the Titans, we already have the Saints on the teaser. The Saints up to the +9, which obviously, again, you get through the 3, you get through the 7, and you get through the 6. You're not a bunch of knuckleheads. You know what we're doing here. You know what we're trying to get with these teasers. Why am I looking at the first half in this game? Well, a couple reasons. One, the Titans, and I mentioned this in the last video, that game against the Rams, they won, and it was a surprising win, but the win was more the Rams losing, more so than the Titans winning, if you know what I mean. Titans didn't do a damn thing that impressed anybody in that game other than get a pick six. And really that was, I don't want to say fluky, because, you got to watch film and things like that to jump the routes and all that other kind of stuff, but it's not something that I would bet on being replicable, if you know what I mean. The Rams like to play aggressively. They like to have deep shots. And the Titans were just getting all up in their mug, putting a lot of pressure on Stafford. They got the pick six. They got the pick on like the 4-yard line. And those 14 points ended up winning the game for them. The Saints have a much different style of play and a much different just locker room, really. So Trevor Siemian was the quarterback last week. It sounds like he's still going to be the quarterback this week. And the reason I phrase it like that is because Taysom Hill is really the person that most of us would have thought would be the starter if Jameis went down. And that's exactly the situation we're in. But Taysom Hill was coming off a concussion, and he only played, I think, a total of like 3 snaps last week. Now, he played, pretty decently in those 3 snaps. His passes were really good. He looked fine. But I'm wondering if that was more of like a gadget play, or if that was something that maybe they were kind of trying to compensate for his injury. They didn't want to put him out there too much, and that's why Trevor Siemian was a starter. Either way, though, the way the Saints play is they like to take shots, downfield, because their guys just are not really consistent on like shorter passes. They don't have a real off the line guy like a Cole Beasley, so they take a lot of these like intermediate routes, a lot of outside the number stuff. Let's play towards the sidelines. They're not necessarily going for a bunch of home run shots. They're not asking Trevor Siemian to, be Matt Stafford. That's just not the kind of quarterback he is. They're aware of that. Everybody knows that. That's fine. When they're not passing it, they're going to play more conservatively with the run, with Alvin Kamara. And actually, Mark Ingram has been getting a lot of work running the ball. Kind of surprisingly, because not that he's not good, but he's not good. So I'm not sure why they're trying to mix him in so much. But either way, they are not going to play the same style of game that the Rams are playing. The Saints are much less conducive to turnovers because of their style of play. Because they're getting rid of the ball quick, they're getting it more on timing routes, on out routes. It's just much harder to jump those routes. It's much harder to get the turnovers. And because of that, I'm not expecting the Titans to get a lot of short fields here. They're probably going to have to, march the distance of the field the majority of the time unless they maybe do get something that breaks their way. But, again, I'm not counting on that. The Titans' offense was god-awful, and they know that they don't have Derrick Henry, but they still continue to play like they have Derrick Henry. They still want to play that run game. It doesn't matter what we tell them. It doesn't matter what analytics point out to them. They're going to keep running the ball. The Saints have the number 1 rushing defense in the league. That is against the rush, that is. That means you're not going to see Jeremy McNichols have a lot of big chunk plays. You're not going to see the Titans have a lot of success on the ground, period. What happens, though? The Titans aren't going to change the game plan between now and Sunday. They're not going to change what they have been doing all year long for this one game. I guarantee you they are not going to do that before the game starts. what I fully expect to happen is that they start this game trying to run the ball. They start trying to have some success to, establish the ground game, establish their identity, or whatever bullshit they want to tell you. But what's going to happen, or at least in the way it's playing out for me, the Saints rushing defense does exactly what the Saints rushing defense does, and they limit that ground game. They limit them against what they want to do. And at some point, either the Saints start to pull ahead and the Titans have to say, okay, we need to adjust here. And that's probably not going to happen until halftime. The Titans are not known for making these split second, in mid drive changes. It's probably going to be something that they notice at halftime and say, okay, we need to adjust and we're not going to get any success on the ground today. We need to go to A.J. Brown. We need to go to Julio Jones. We need to, focus on those matchups. And even at that side of the ball, you have Marshon Lattimore most likely lining up with A.J. Brown. So they're going to have to, or they should, try to highlight Julio Jones. But again, I don't see any of these adjustments happening prior to the game starting. Either the Saints get a lead and this adjustment happens at halftime, or it's a very, very close game, and it's probably like 7-7 or 3-7 or 10-7, something really, really low at the first half where the Titans maybe don't have to make that adjustment, and they keep playing what they're playing, hoping that they're going to break one at some point, and that's not a recipe to win, first of all, but secondly, and most importantly for us, it's a recipe for the under, and in this particular scenario, I'm taking the under for the first half. Now, this was a little bit higher earlier in the week. I think it was like at 22, maybe even 22 and a half at some spots. And it has come down to 21 and a half. Now, I still like it because you're still getting the over 21. Realistically, I think 21 is like the high end of variance for these two teams. And that's going to be like somebody just either blowing a coverage or some fluke fumble or something like that causing the third touchdown. It's probably going to be more like a 7-7, 7-10 kind of first half. Like I said, the reason I don't want to play the full game is in the event the Saints get out to an early lead. Let's say that they are the ones out and it's 10-3, right? That second half, the Titans are going to come out and say, we need to make adjustments. We can't keep falling behind. We can't keep trying the ground game because they've kind of tied our hands at this point. And if they start going to the air, and if they start trying to get to Julio Jones, even though it's going to be a lot of short stuff, he can break one. They can move the chains a lot easier. The Saints can start trying to kind of, speed up their tempo. And there's a very slim but real possibility that they go over that final total of 44.5. So I want the first half in this one. I don't want to worry about those second half adjustments or what comes after the halftime. I want just the first half. What else do I like in this game? I like the Saints to win the first half. Honestly, I really think that they are going to win that first half because of exactly what I was just telling you. Now, I don't necessarily know that I want the +2, only because, like I said, +2, I mean, that's fine, right? Like, it could be a tie game, and ties obviously are much more prevalent in the first half than in the full game. So it does help to get the +2. But what I would really like to see is the money line number. What's it going to come out at? It's going to be plus something. It's probably going to be like plus 120. I would much rather have that money line. In the event of a push, a tie, you get the push. You don't get the win, obviously. But I really, truly think the Saints are going to just outright win this first half. And that the juice is a lot more in your favor with the plus money. So I like the first half for the Saints if you want to take it that route. My best bet for this half is the under 21.5. And those are the ones that I really like for this game. And I really, really spent a lot of time and thought and just analysis on this game. And if you remember last week, it's very similar to what we did with the Patriots and the Panthers, just kind of breaking it down step by step and what we thought was going to happen. And around this time of year, that's more likely than not what you're going to need to do. Earlier in the year, you can kind of play that scatter shot, like shotgun kind of style where, hey, I like this, this, and this. Our algorithms tell us that these 5 or 6 plays are plus EV, and that's great. As we get to this point of the season where these underdogs are starting to win, where the books are starting to take more money in, and it always happens, don't be surprised. This is the time of year. It's always between like week 8 and week 10. Sometimes you'll have like a week 7 in there. But around this time of year, when all the data is out there and the people who are spending 24/7 working that data, are taking your money. This is around the time of year it happens. So instead of playing that scatter shot, let's play to our biggest advantage and only play the games that we can really, really intricately break down and feel like we have an edge on. Now, in saying all of that, what other picks do I like? What else were we able to come up with the off day yesterday on Wednesday? Well, I'm going to go back to a game that I already picked. And again, I'm going to emphasize this one more time. I'm trying to specifically pick the games that I really like and feel like I have an edge on. And I'm trying to kind of condense the amount of games I'm involved in. I don't want to just take like a 50-50 shot anywhere. Obviously, we don't want to do that in general. But even on a game, excuse me, like, for example, the Patriots-Browns, I really am interested in that game. I really like the game, and I've tried to break it down, and I've done it different ways and different angles, and there's too much variance in that game, guys. I know a lot of you really like one side or the other, and that's great. And if you want to get involved in it, by all means, I'm not stopping you. I'm just saying, for me personally, it is too volatile. There's too many outcomes for that game for me to really want to get involved. I'd have to be something very specific that would be presented to me for me to get involved in that game. Even though I really like it, even though my personal lean is that the Patriots win this game, and then it's probably under, those are just leans for me, and that's something that I'm not going to put my money on right now this time of year, knowing that the books are just looking to be sharks and take my money some more. So, again, let's get back to a game that we do like and that we do know about, which is this Jaguars-Colts. Again, I did lay the Colts minus 10 earlier in the week. Now, the Colts, again, we've gone over this before. Their offensive line is amazing. The Jaguars' defensive line is really what they kind of rest on, and that's how they beat the Bills last week. The Jaguars have had 2 games since their bye week, and they have failed to put up 10 points in either game. That's really the biggest reason as to why I laid the 10 points with the Colts. The Jaguars, if they cannot score, and they've played against some not-so-good defenses, the Bills, of course, are a good defense, but they were struggling because they were on the field so damn much that eventually, something's going to get through, and they only give up field goals. But either way, the Jaguars not being able to put together a decent enough offense to put up points while playing against the Colts, who eliminate that defensive line strength that they have, that have Jonathan Taylor that can run all over these guys, that have Carson Wentz who gets the ball out quickly, or he can. He wasn't always this kind of quarterback, but he can, and the way that Frank Reich is using him, that's kind of the offensive style I am expecting them to come out with, is especially because they just saw what happened to the Bills. I very highly doubt Frank Reich is going to say, yeah, sit back in the pocket for 6 seconds, good offensive line or not. They're most likely going to come out with this game plan of, look, we're going to get the ball out quickly, and we're going to play side to side. We're going to tire out that defensive line. We're going to use our offensive line. We're going to grind the run game and get past these guys and knock them on their ass, and we're going to win this game the hard way, but we're going to put up a lot of points, and we're going to tell the Jaguars, either you keep up with us or you're going to get the hell off the field. And that's exactly what I plan on happening, and I do believe the Colts get the full cover. The only concern, and I mentioned this again in the other video, the only concern in this case is the Colts kind of relaxing on defense. If it's the third or the fourth quarter and they're up by 24, they're up by 20 points, it's 30-5, or 30-3 or 30-10 or whatever. Do they kind of just take their foot off the gas and let the Jaguars do whatever they want? Now, the Jaguars' offense has not been good, like I was saying. They have not been able to do a damn thing. They have not scored 10 points in either game that they've played since our bye week. But, again, it's still a concern because of what I'm saying here, because the Colts could just be demolishing these guys. And if that's the case, and we saw it not too long ago with the Rams and the Texans, where the Rams literally took off like their entire starting unit on both sides of the ball because they were up like 38-0, I could see that happening again here in this Colts-Jaguars game, and I don't want to necessarily worry about that second half where they're just letting the Jaguars run all over them. I still am on the 10 points, of course, because I highly doubt the Jaguars' offense, and I don't think they're going to mount a comeback garbage time or not. But if you want to play it safe, or if you want to just kind of hedge, if you want to call it that, with me, I'm also going to be playing the Colts first half. The Colts -6 for the first half. Again, a game I really see the Colts winning just start to finish and having in hand the entire 4 quarters. I could see this being like 21-3 or 21-7 at the very most. in the first half. Now, the Jaguars with Darrell Bevell, their offensive coordinator, are actually really, really good at getting some sort of score in that first quarter. He's really, really good at scheduling and kind of scripting that first drive or two, and it's done well for them. They've been able to get field goals most of the time out of those first few drives. But after that, the offense progressively gets worse. It progressively stalls out more and more and more, and they're just getting less and less effective. And I think the Colts are going to be prepared for that. Like I said, they're probably going to give up at least a field goal in the first quarter, so I do think the Jaguars will score something, but I think the Colts are going to end up having like 21 points in the first quarter. Also, that's why I don't want to really touch this total for the first half. It's going to be totally reliant on the Colts, but assuming that the Jaguars do get a field goal like I'm thinking they will, the Colts can put up 21 points on their own. So if you take the over under 23.5, you are really relying, or you're saying that I think the Colts are either going to not score 21 points or maybe they'll miss a field goal, and that's how I'm going to get the under or the over. So I'm not touching the total on that one, but I do like the Colts -6 first half, and that's another play that I'm on. The last one, guys, here, and there's really two that I am interested in. The only one that I put money on so far, that's actually going to be the Broncos game, which is the Broncos-Eagles. Now, if you didn't know this, the Eagles have had 3 games that they have not forced a punt, a single punt, and one of them happened last week. The Eagles played the Chargers last week. I told you from, I think, like Tuesday of last week that I was on the Chargers money line. Just didn't really believe in the Eagles, and the Chargers offense was not going to get stopped by these guys. It's exactly what happened. The Eagles did not force a single punt in the entire game. And the Eagles, like I said, they have, and I told you this last week too, their defense is set up to stop the explosive plays. They were trying to go for the Chargers and the Broncos style of defense where, hey, look, we'll give up the short underneath stuff, but we're not going to give you these big explosive plays. And that's more or less how they've played. But when you play teams like the Chargers last week, who like to nickel and dime you, you're kind of set up for disaster. And that's exactly what's happening here with the Broncos. The Broncos do not play very, very aggressively. You know that if you've seen Teddy Bridgewater at all. He likes to short underneath stuff. That let's just stay ahead of the sticks. Let's stay on time. That kind of offense, and that's what the Broncos want to do. The Broncos are going to run the ball, and if the Broncos can pass to their running backs 20 times a game, they will pass to their running backs 20 times a game. Now, the Eagles have a hard time tackling. They have a hard time stopping short underneath stuff, like just kind of 3, 4, 5 yard plays. They cannot stop those kind of things, and the Broncos, that is their bread and butter. That's what they're trying to do. I do expect the Broncos to win the first half of this game. Now, unfortunately, it's not a big difference as far as like your points, obviously, because it's -2.5 for the full game, or it's -2.5 for the first half. So that's a little bit different. But 2 plays I like in this one. So one, I like the Broncos to win the first half by margin, by so -2.5. Why am I picking the first half instead of the full game? The Eagles have consistently shown us that they do not want to play aggressively until they absolutely have to. Go back and watch any film. Go back and check the scoreboards. Go check whatever you want to do. The Eagles play much more conservatively in the first half. They're trying to keep Jalen Hurts out of trouble. They're trying to take short underneath stuff. They're trying to just kind of keep everything in front of their defense. They're not going after interceptions. They're not doing anything crazy. They're just trying to be conservative. They're trying to run their game plan in that first half. It is not until the late third and fourth quarter that you finally see Jalen Hurts getting out there, slinging it around, doing whatever he has to do to try and make the game a little bit more competitive. For the most part, they've been losing, but a lot of these games, you look back at the scores, and it looks like they're at least somewhat competitive, and that's because in the fourth quarter, a lot of these teams will just kind of take their foot off the gas, like I was saying again earlier, and they'll let them get back in the game. And while I do think the Broncos probably do cover the 2.5 for the full game, if this is a close game the way Vegas is expecting, if this is like a 17-14 game at half, it's very possible that this game ends up as like a 27-24 kind of game at the end of it, and you're really going to be hinging on this little half a point here. Now, obviously, I like it at the -2.5 more than I would like it at -3. I would take the Broncos there, but I'm more confident not only in the first half, but I like the juice better in the first half as it's only minus 108 instead of the minus 117. Secondly, or the other play that I like in this one, is the over. And this has actually been hammered up. I took the over yesterday. It was at over 44. It has gone consistently up since then. It's up to 45.5 right now, so it's a 1.5 already in movement. If you wait on this one, and it just like on the Saints first half line, the total that has moved also like a point. If you wait, and I would say wait as long as you can, wait until Sunday morning if you absolutely need to, these numbers are probably going to readjust themselves. And what happens here is you see some people, some sharps, that find these little holes in the numbers, and they'll start putting those bets out there, and they bet bigger money, and it moves the lines. And so anytime that I find something that has a little bit of juice to it, it almost consistently ends up moving. And it will usually move earlier in the week. And I know, again, you saw this, if you've been watching the videos for at least a week, guys, you saw it happen last week with the Patriots-Panthers first half. That's not because of me, obviously. It's not because I'm making the pick or anything, or it's not because I'm saying it on YouTube. But it's because I just happen to be on the side where there's a lot of money coming in. And that means that usually that's more of like a sharper syndicate group, especially early in the week, even through like Friday. Your general public is not looking at these lines yet, not until not that they haven't looked at them, they're not betting them yet. Not until like Friday night, Saturday morning, Saturday night, and especially Sunday morning is when your general public will start betting the NFL. Only guys like me and you who are real degenerates or really love the NFL or really think you have an edge are betting earlier than that in the week. And that's perfectly fine. That's what we want to do. It's what we want to get our good numbers. But the over 45.5, like I said, I'd probably wait just a little bit, see if that number comes back down. And I think it will, because I think your general guy, your general public, what we call, if you're watching like Mayo, Patrick Mayo, whatever, Pat Mayo, what he would call like the shitter guy, right? The guy who makes his bets sitting on the shitter Sunday morning. That guy is going to see this and say, oh, Broncos defense, Eagles shitty offense, probably an under. And he's going to probably, again, not assuredly, but probably drive this line a little bit down, at least back down to 45, if not down to 45.5 or 44.5. And the reason I like these is, like I said, the Eagles are going to give up the short and knee stuff. The Broncos are going to stay ahead of the sticks. They're going to keep moving the ball. They're going to take exactly what the Eagles are giving them, and they're going to have an efficient offense. They're probably not going to put up, a 40-point game, but they will put up, high 20s. They're going to put up like a 27-point game, 24-point game, somewhere in there. The Eagles, on the other side of that, they also will probably have at least some success on offense because they are trying to run a more conservative offense than like the Cowboys were doing last week. The Broncos are really good at taking away like the crossers and the middle routes, and they kind of want to push you to the sides and make you, pass against the sidelines, and you need to be accurate with those throws or else you're going to lose the way the Cowboys and Dak Prescott did last week. The Eagles, that's their game plan anyways. They're not trying to have Jalen Hurts throw 80 yards down the field every play. He will do it. He'll take a shot or two. But for the most part, they want him to be kind of conservative. They want to let him maybe use his legs a little bit, kind of extend the play, get out of the pocket. And I do believe they're going to find some success because both teams are going to be efficient and because there's probably not going to be too many drives that end in punts in this game. I think we're in for some sort of 27-24, maybe even like a 27-28 kind of game where this comes down to the wire, but either way it goes above the total. And so I really like the over for the full game. So just to recap, we have the Colts -6 for the first half, the Broncos to win the first half. So Broncos -2.5 for the first half. The Broncos-Eagles over 45.5, but like I said, I'm trying to wait. I got it at 44. Try and wait, guys. I would really say 44.5 or 44 if you can is where I would want to get that number. Don't buy it down because it's going to cost you a lot of money to buy it down to that, but wait and see if it will go down at all between now and Sunday or between now and kickoff. The Saints under for the first half is in the next play, and then basically, the Saints to win the game if you want to. I'm not adding that one personally, but the Saints Titans under first half, definitely a play of mine. I do like the Saints money line for the full game. If you have not already put the teaser down, even if you have, you might want to just sprinkle a little bit of money on that money line. The Saints right now are plus 132 on the money line. I really, really like it. Like I said, I do believe the Saints come out and really just dominate this, and I think people are overreacting to the Titans winning last week in like a terrible fashion, and the Saints losing in a game where they really had a good game defensively, and they suffered from a lot of drops. If you have not watched that game, I would ask you to try to do so one way or another. It just seems like they could not catch the ball from Trevor Siemian. I mean, it was drop after drop after drop, especially in the first half. And there was one that was like a 4th and 3. He hit Adam Troutman, and the guy just had it go right through his hands. And it wasn't like he had to reach out for it. It hit him in the chest, and he still could not haul the ball in. It was like infuriating for me, and I'm not even throwing the damn ball. So I do believe that the offense has a better showing here. I believe that defense is going to shut down the Titans' run game, and the Titans are going to just take too long to adjust. So those are the plays for right now, guys. Like I said, everything, as always, will be in the description below. All the picks, all the other stuff. Please join me in joining OddsJam if you haven't already done so. OddsJam, guys, they do put out all the different lines from all the different bookies out there and tell you where to go to get the best lines. Most importantly, though, they show you some arbitrage opportunities. So especially, like I said, this time of the year where the books are really trying to be very sharp and take your money, use that against them. Use that movement, that line movement that they're going to be active on, and take the best of both lines. So take a -6 somewhere and then take a +6.5 on the other spot, and hopefully either you're winning both or you're at least winning on arbitrage with some extra pennies on one side or the other. That being said, guys, the OddsJam link will be in the book below. And lastly, please, if you haven't already done so, please sign up for Bookmaker. I say this not just because I like to use them and because they're probably my favorite book, but because they usually put out the lines the earliest, and they put out the lines that are probably the sharpest. You will have movement in Bookmaker before most other places go out there. And for anybody who is using like some sort of touting service, you will notice that Bookmaker moves as soon as those touts put something out, and you'll get like a half point or a point in value once it comes out. If you have a Bookmaker account and you're watching these lines, I guarantee you will beat the other books as far as timing. And you can, even if you don't make the final bet on Bookmaker, you could use that movement to place a wager somewhere else, knowing that you're getting a point to a half a point in closing line value. That's all, guys. Thank you again. I will come back tomorrow. Tomorrow is going to be a little bit different as well. Tomorrow we will go down each and every single game with a lean, a pick. Not necessarily I'm betting on all of them, but I know almost every week we go through and the comments or on here or whatever, there's always like, hey, do you like this game? Do you like this game? Do you like this teaser? And I love it, guys. I really do. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm just going to give out my kind of leans and feel for every game on the board. And that way, if there's something that you like or maybe something that you come across between Friday and Sunday, you'll know kind of where my take is on that game. And if there's something that maybe you didn't know that I can give you some light on. But thanks again, and have a great day.